Welcome everyone in the home of champions at Genk in Belgium to host the pinnacle event of the CIK-FIA calendar. 3 categories at play: the KZ World Championship, the KZ2 International Super Cup, and the third and last round of the Academy Trophy. Are you ready? Start your engine and let's go racing! Karting goes a long way back in history. During the meeting in Genk, we had a chance to see some demonstrations on track from the historic Super Cup with some prestigious names for both chassis and names. Let's find out what some of them had to say.
At every World Championship, or at this to say the KZ World Championship, we have for the 5th time the historic Superkart trophy, where we have people from I think 10 different nations bringing karts from the pioneer days, so that the spectator but also the young competitors in, let's say, the academy can have a look how karting actually started. You're going to see about 40 different karts from 4 periods. So the historic part of the CIK, which is called Classic, covers the beginning of karting from 56 up till 1984, which after 1984 the machines are very similar to what we see today with bodywork and everything. In general, history, if people don't learn from the history, from the Romans or from whatever, you have no future.
Wow, it's just amazing to be here in this most important race for karting, which is the World Championship here in Belgium, in Genk. The Academy, which is the young drivers learning, so it's a school. KZ is professional drivers, amazing drivers. You know, what they are doing is just fantastic. But also the KZ2, which is the same karts, you know, just 5 kilos different, but I think shows the level of the driver, shows how much the drivers is learning. You know, I think if you drive the KZ2, which is the same, I think the feelings you have is very similar to a Formula 1 car. All of the top drivers that they are in Formula 1 now, they started here, you know. So I think the promotion needs to be better, needs to be bigger, but that's my plan. We'll help to grow. I cannot do alone, but it will help to grow in the better level.
Run since 2010, the Academy Trophy offers many youngsters from all over the world a chance to compete at the highest level of karting. It represents a unique chance for many talents to shine on track and maybe build a career in motor racing. How do they do that? Let's find out.
We are the technical partner of CIK. We don't select drivers. We just provide the materials and the service at the track. All the academy drivers, they have the same carts basically, because we said the car is always the same. They cannot change anything, but everything must be standard. It's really good because you can really see the talent of the drivers, and this is very, very important. So this is very important also for drivers who are interested in developing their career and to maybe, I don't know, become a Formula or a car driver, a professional driver.
The same chassis, the same engine and the same chances for everyone. This is what the Academy Trophy is all about. But this is time for a little tour of the Genk karting track. And to give you that tour, the Belgian rising star of the event and the category, Pauwels.
Pauwels will take you on a tour now of his home circuit at Genk. 120 kilometers an hour down the main straight, then into turn 1, keeping it nice and smooth. What we have to remember with the Academy karts is with the harder tyres there's lower grip, so you can see he's having to be much more smooth, more precise with the steering to get the best possible exit speeds. Into turn 6, tight on the hairpin, gradual back on the power, then down the back straight. You're setting yourself up for a tricky part of the course now. A physical moment, but an overtaking point is clear. Plenty of curb on the exit through the left, and this right-hander which goes on forever. Balance it, keep the power nice and smooth, then turn in for the tight left-hander. Into that third sector. Remember that bump from earlier? You're going to see how it feels. Much more physical for the academy drivers. Right, left, bang. Now up towards that final turn, a brilliant overtaking opportunity. Brake, turn in, keep the car nice and tidy, then back on the power and up the main straight. A brilliant lap from Kobe Pauwels.
After 2 hectic rounds in France and Italy, the last round of the Academy Trophy offered its fair share of drama, with 4 drivers still capable to win the trophy after the heats. Let's see who came out on top with Jake Sanson.
As the FIA Karting Academy Trophy draws to a close, the season finale at Genk in Belgium saw Mario Boya blast away from pole position ahead of Brazil's Guilherme de Figueiredo. The local man, Kobe Pauwels, put up a fight to move into second through the first 2 corners, but conceded whilst holding off the Brit Josh Rattigan and Finland's Tuukka Tarpanen. Original weekend pole sitter Isidro Callejas Gomez found himself sat in P6 for the moment. But Kobe Pauwels wasn't going to wait around, and into turn 7 he made his move and grabbed second place. Now to set off after the leader, Mario Boya. However, de Figueiredo left the door open for Rattigan, who scampered by into third position. Whilst Joshua settled into the battle, his gesture to the Brazilian behind him to assist their challenge for the win went unanswered, and de Figueiredo stormed back through, and that gave the hard-charging Frenchman Craig Tannick a good opportunity to sprout an attack for 4th, which came at the final corner. Up to 4th then for Tannick. Further up the road, Kobe Pauwels didn't take long to close up on and then pass Mario Boya. But the Spaniard knew that on dropped scores, second position would be enough to win the title ahead of the Belgian by just 1 point. Behind them, Robert De Haan of the Netherlands was battling with Norway's Sondre Kvekbal, whilst Argentina's Lucas Pedanovic was waiting in the wings to pounce if a gap opened up. Sadly, elsewhere, the season didn't end well for Juri Vichichka Jr., who spun at turn 2 and was collected by Britain's Will Orton and Italian star Federico Albanese. A win at Lonato, binned at Genk. Back on track in the fight for 5th position, Tannick was now being caught by Robert De Haan, as Rattigan was now back on the tail of de Figueiredo. Up front, Boya was under no pressure at all behind his main rival, as he was on course to be champion. But Rattigan wasn't prepared to settle for 4th, as he surged into a podium position at turn 2. So the order was settling in, as the brilliant ethos of the FIA Academy Karting Trophy was showing off the skills of its class of 2018, with Pauwels ahead of Boya, then Rattigan, Tannick now up to 4th ahead of de Figueiredo, Tarpanen and De Haan. In the closing stages, Boya tightened up behind the home hero Kobe Pauwels, just in case he could pressurise him into a mistake. But on home soil, Pauwels would not be denied. Into the final lap, and De Haan was eager to pass Tarpanen, with de Figueiredo hanging on to the lead of the trio. But at the front of the pack, Mario Boya had backed off the tail of Kobe Pauwels, content to finish in 2nd place, and not willing to risk his championship victory after a heroic season. Kobe was undoubtedly the star of the show, and the home crowd went mad for Pauwels as he won in euphoric style. But the 2018 FIA Karting Academy Trophy went to Spain's Mario Boya, as he became the 9th champion and the 2nd from Spain after Marta Garcia 3 years before. With Joshua Rattigan in 3rd position, all 3 podium men were jubilant and ecstatic as the season came to a close in fantastic fashion. And we can only reflect that this could be the first step in a long journey to the top of the sport for Mario Boya.
It's not a very difficult race for me. I took the lead early after Mario made a mistake on lap 2. So I can manage to pass him. I didn't look too much behind because my father is always crazy then because Mario knows then, oh, he is stressed and everything. And I managed it to came over the line in 1st place.
Well, I am very happy because I won the championship. I know that if I made 2nd and Kobe win, I win the championship. So in the 2nd lap, I made a mistake because someone goes out in the tracks and the track was a little bit bad. So I go out He overtake me, but then I know that if I make second, I win the championship, so that's what I do, and I'm very happy for the championship.
Didn't get to a great start at the beginning with going back a few positions with the track being slippy, and then with an accident down at chicane which gave the front two leaders a gap. For me to then fight through back into third and keep it there, it felt all right.
With 30 of the best karting drivers in the world, but one title to grab, the KZ category had all the ingredients in the bag for an amazing show. But going around the 1.3 kilometer of the Genk circuit is no easy task. Let's get on board with CRG driver Paolo De Conto to show us how it's done.
On board with Paolo De Conto, 145 kilometers per hour at the line, a blip of the brake on turn 1, then hard on the brakes till the apex, carrying the speed round turn 2, then drop to third gear to keep the revs high through the double left apex. Things are about to get physical as you keep the car flat through the left, then you hold the inside line under braking for turn 6. Be patient, line up the car and hold your nerve. Back on the power, approaching a brilliant overtaking spot into the S's with a dash of curb on the left exit. Next comes the double right-hander, the most demanding part of the course on drivers. Stay off the curbs, keep it smooth, then tuck back in for the left hairpin. Patience on the throttle and back up the straight towards turn 12. Hang to the outside to get the best line for the right, then into the next tight left-hander. You're now shaken up by the bump in the surface as you power back on the throttle before letting the car flow from the outside to the inside for a heavy turn in at 15. Power out halfway through the apex and storm to the finish line. That lap of De Conto's was a 52.94, but he predicts we could see as low as a 51.7.
Already the fastest in Friday's qualifying session, the Czech Patrik Hajek of Cosmic kept the momentum going during the heats to start Sunday's final at the front. Here are the highlights of the KZ World Championship with Jake Sanson.
From pole position, Patrik Hajek grabbed the lead of the KZ World Championship final into turn 1, ahead of Marin Kramers and Simo Pohaka. Hometown hero Rick Driesen settled for 4th ahead of Fabian Federer in the early stages with plenty of time to move forward. But the drama began halfway round the first lap, as Pohaka decided to strike at turn 7 and leapt up the inside of Kramers. When the first attempt didn't work, he tried again at turn 12, and this time the move was perfect. But dramatically, Kramers wasn't done yet and made a move at the final turn to retaliate, but as Pohaka defended, Kramers was left with nowhere to go, and both men were out. So neither would be world champion today. Former world champion Jorrit Pex saw a chance to make the title his once more. As he passed France's Anthony Abbas, there was still a long way to climb to reach the top, but on a circuit he knows like the back of his hand, Pex is a hard man to beat at Genk. At the same time, 2 Italians swapped places as Lorenzo Camplese took his Evo kart past the KZ2 Super Cup winner of 2017, Alex Erlando. The earlier incident between Pohaka and Kramers had left Hajek with a strong lead, but Abbas wouldn't go much further as he tangled with the cannibal, Jonathan Tonon. So Hajek was now well ahead of home favourite Rick Driesen and Italy's Fabian Federer. But who could forget double world champion Paolo De Conto? He charged past Camplese, who was almost joined up the inside by Mirko Tozzolini, whilst Andrea Dali duelled with Ben Hanley and Pedro Hiltbrand. 1 lap later, and the 2016 KZ2 International Super Cup winner continued his impressive KZ transition with a textbook dive into turn 7, as Hiltbrand left Dali under pressure from Stan Pex and Henry Coco. Jorrit Pex was finding it tough in the lower end of the top 6, with Irlando breathing down his neck. But the world champion of 2015 was starting to realise that his dream of clinching a second crown was now gradually slipping away. Meanwhile, Pedro Hiltbrand was going no further, and he'd have to return for more in 2019. Irlando, meanwhile, had no respect for reputation or status and made a stunning move on the European champion Jorrit Pex. That was good enough for 4th position for now, but was the podium out of reach? Then, war broke out between the 2 biggest CRG stars on the grid as Paolo De Conto dived inside Jorrit Pex and took the place away, as number 5 was now P5. Try as he might, Pex had no response, and it looked like the CRG Spa man had grabbed the upper hand on CRG Holland's European king. But with all the twists and turns behind him, nobody could get close to Patrik Hajek. twice the runner-up in the European Championships in 2016 and 17, now was finally going to be the day for Hajek and his Cosmic Racing team. With Driesen fast but not quite able to match his pace, and Federer hanging on to third with an ailing throttle cable, it was left to Patrik Hajek to make history and become 2018 FIA Karting World Champion. After so many near misses, the Czech superstar was finally the hero of the hour, king of KZ, and champion of the world.
You drive on the top level. The World Championship is only one race in the year, and if you are able to win it, it's something incredible. And I think tomorrow I will understand everything and it will be fine. Tonight or today I just need to enjoy the moments, and that's it.
It's been a very good weekend for me, and to finish second is a great result. Considering also that I changed the team for this race, so the preparation has been very short. I think at the start of the week no one or nobody in the paddock even expected that I could be so close to the world title, so now it's a really great result to finish second, of course.
Ich war vom Start her Dritter und ich habe schon gesehen, Rico.
For me, it was difficult this weekend with many ups and downs. In the final, the speed was good, having started from third place, and I saw that both Rick and Peter were ahead of me. Patrick had managed to get well ahead, and I knew that if I didn't have any problems, I'd be able to catch Rick up. But on the 12th or 13th lap, the throttle cable failed, with the engine only running at half power.
This is the completely kart KZ or KZ2 class. It's exactly the same car. The only difference between KZ and KZ2 is a 5 kilo. Must be under 70 kilo with the car and driver completely in KZ class, and under 75 kilo in KZ2 class. The most important thing between KZ and KZ2 is the driver. That make a big difference. Everybody knows in motorsport, like if you see Formula 1 now, the driver is 20%, 80% is the car. Here is still 70% important than the driver. That is why KZ is so important, because the driver is so good, is the top driver, and the category make the difference between KZ and KZ2.
The KZ2 International Super Cup did not disappoint on Belgium soil, with more than 100 drivers entering the biggest weekend of the year. The second one of the shifter categories allowed a few names to mix up the field. We're back with James Hansen to cover up for you the KZ2 International Super Cup.
The KZ2 International Super Cup final kicked off in magic style for Matteo Vigano as he charged ahead of European champion Adrian Renardin. Try as he might, New Zealander Daniel Bray couldn't quite make it to second place, for the time being at least. Sweden's Ivo Skaras slotted into fourth place with Gaetano De Moro and Max Tubben in hot pursuit. Four drivers had clattered into each other at turn 3, as Filippo Berto, Paul Everard, Thomas Landais and Francesco Iacobacci were now out of contention for the title. Renaudin was under intense pressure from Daniel Bray, and the Kiwi was up for the challenge. Further back, and De Moro was fighting with Skaras, the Swede keen to hold steadfast in front of the Brazilian, Tubben and David Vidales. The Dutchman Max Tubben was close to ending his race in the barriers at turn 7, but the whole field was being impeded and slowed up by Renaudin, allowing Vigano to disappear up front. Eventually, Bray got through into second. De Moro then set off after the 2018 European champion, and as Renaudin defended, the field behind tightened up. The 16-year-old Spaniard David Vidales was looking particularly menacing behind Skaras. Now that the Kiwi was released, Bray was charging forward and seemed to be the only man to hold a candle to the Italian up front. Third position was set to be a grudge match between Renaudin and De Moro, but the Q was patiently locking in for a chance at the podium, as Skaras, Vidales and the rejuvenated Giacomo Fellini were now ready to put themselves into the fight for third. Up in front, Bray was punching well above the weight predicted by him and his GP Racing team, as Vigano was conserving his tyres in the mid-stage of the race. As the five-way scrap for the third and final step on the podium continued at a stalemate, the five men were just counting down the laps, with Renaudin fully aware how close the Brazilian could get to his rear bumper. Vigano continued to control his pace ahead of Bray and Renaudin. But as more and more laps ticked down, the Brazilian's impatience grew and grew, and the overtaking move was looking more and more likely. There were now 4 men queuing up behind them, as Riccardo Longhi had made a sensational comeback from the back of the field to resuscitate his weekend and surge back to the head of the pack. Vidales had now had enough of sitting behind Scaris and made the move at turn 7, much to the Swede's surprise. But Longhi was just getting started. Having fought back to 8th, he now had designs on a higher position, and Polini couldn't put up much of a challenge in the final turn, as his countryman dived past. With the speed his Berelat was giving him, it meant he was already hustling the back of Scaris. The hold-up now meant there were 2 more that had joined the back of the train, Martin van Leuven and Alessio Piccini. With time running out, De Moro was now in attack mode as he made his bid for 3rd position. Heading into the penultimate lap, all was looking fine and dandy. But halfway round it, Renaudin and De Moro were slow out of turn 11, suggesting they may have connected. Vidales had made his way past De Moro, with Longhi now ahead of Renaudin. The Frenchman's defensive tactics appeared to be to no avail. Longhi was now putting pressure on the Brazilian, but his fantastic comeback would come to naught as well, as he was later excluded for being underweight. Cruel fate after a spectacular comeback drive. But after pole position in qualifying, 5 heat wins out of 6, and a masterful drive, Matteo Vigano took victory in dominant fashion at Genk to become the 6th winner of the FIA International KZ2 Super Cup, with Daniel Bray a spectacular 2nd and David Vidales capping a brilliant weekend for Tony Kart in 3rd.
It started very well since Wednesday, to be true. We were very fast, like me and as well David. We just needed to take what the chassis and engine give to us, so the good result in the final, because we had a very good engine and chassis since Wednesday. So we need to manage all the heats to finish them, because we know it was a long weekend with 6 heats.
Very happy, overwhelmed. You know, we're a very small team, a lot smaller budget than Tony Kart and CIG and everyone, and we punch well above our weight. I have to thank the GP guys, the dealers all around the world who have faith in our product and what we do in developing a go-kart, and this is just another result in a long line of victories we have all around the world with the product.
Qualifying, we were a bit unlucky. Also, the heats were difficult, but in the final, the pace was really good. So the race was long, and we managed to reach the podium, and that was our goal before the race. And yeah, we want to give this result to Marco, like Matteo said, because I mean it's really hard for him not be here racing with the in KZ after a long preparation for the World Championship.
So it was written that Patrik Hajek would become the first Czech driver to win the World Championship of KZ here in Belgium. Matteo Vigano dominated the International Super Cup of KZ2, and Pauwels won on home soil but fell short for 1 point to Mario Boya, the new winner in the Academy Trophy. That's it for the highlights of the FIA Karting Grand Prix of Belgium. Thank you for watching and see you soon on track.